Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders with Old Man Gaming, and this is another horrible game review. Let's go right into the disclaimers. Number one, I do not get paid for this, so you're going to listen to my terrible sick person voice because I am sick as a dog and still managing to do this. And I'm not going to edit it because I don't get money. Number two, I do not give scored reviews for my games because it is the most subjective form of art, in my opinion. I'm going to give you an overview of the game. I'm going to give you the pros and cons, in my opinion, and then whether or not I'm going to be sticking with it. And then a final disclaimer. As previously mentioned, I am very sick and still doing this, so please excuse my voice and any sniffles and or coughing that comes from this recording. Today we are doing Greedfall by Spiders, and I must say this was a game I was very unsure of before playing, but we'll get into that. As an overview, this is an action RPG, and I mean that in its purest core. This is very reminiscent of original Mass Effect and Dragon's Age. You have two companions that travel with you. You can outfit them with different equipment, but when the fight comes, it's more of a action-based, oriented fighting. The game world itself takes place in a fantasy world, but unlike most of your fantasy games, it's not Lord of the Rings or orcs or goblins. It actually takes place in kind of like a 17th century kind of feel, like Renaissance colonial. It's not America or Europe. They're original contents and original countries and worlds and whatnot. So you end up getting to create a character, but the character's name is Desarday. He is becoming a legate, which is kind of like I don't know, like the best way to describe him is like a sheriff. And he's becoming the legate under a governor in this new world, this new land that you end up traveling to. But your main goal is to find a cure for this mysterious plague that's just everywhere on the main continent. And to do this, you have to go to this new world and kind of try and find a cure by working with other nations as well as the indigenous peoples, who, of course, in a lot of ways are being killed or exploited. There are 5 factions, if you look at it. There's the Merchant Congregation, which is what you're from. The Bridge Alliance. Then there is the Taleme, which is kind of like, the Bridge Alliance is kind of a science-based, more forward-thinking group of people, whereas Taleme is all based deep in religion that resembles Christianity, though it's not directly called that, for obvious reasons. And then, of course, there's the faction of the island natives. And you work through this game, gaining reputation and losing reputation with different factions by doing quests for them. One thing that's big with this game is they put this kind of heavy emphasis on the conversation and the political stuff. I actually want to give a couple of shout outs real quick. There's a couple of friends of the show, friends of the channel, I mean, that I really think should check this game out. That's Mark Bell and Thor Zednik. If you're listening to this review, I think this game really, really would speak to you. It definitely spoke to me. It kind of felt like somebody had crawled into my brain, into the nerdiest corners and said, "This will make a wonderful new IP." There is a lot of conversation in this game, a lot. Some of the heavier action-based players might not like that, but I actually kind of thought it was refreshing because the actual player, the conversations, and the character building in the game is very well done, and it makes the fights feel earned, makes them feel bigger. When you go through all these political channels to get to that fight, it's kind of more of a makes it feel more impactful. Now, Spiders as a company, they haven't done super great. Their last game was the Technomancer, and anybody who played that Technomancer probably had the same feeling I did, which was this has a lot of potential, but not a lot of follow-through. I'm glad to say that Greedfall is all follow-through. They really took every mistake that they made with Technomancer and tried to get it right this time around. So anyway, with that being said, let's get to the pros and cons. Okay, so the pros of this game, there's a lot of them. This game's phenomenal. It truly is an indie darling, and it surprises me. Its level of work that's gone in is on the AAA scale, and this is definitely not a AAA company. There's only 50 people that work at this studio, so to see a game of this quality come out of there, it shocks me. Now, don't get me wrong; it's not perfect. It definitely suffers from its bugs and some other things, which we'll talk about in the cons. But for the most part, this is phenomenal. It's a phenomenal game. It is phenomenally voice acted. It has phenomenal storyline. And the one thing that really lacked in the Technomancer, in my opinion, was the combat. And the combat in this feels absolutely fluid and smooth. It is to the point and incredibly stylized. When my character's using a rapier versus a two-handed weapon, it really feels different. And that's another thing. If you don't like the smaller dueling blades, you can still base your character around having bigger weapons. They have big two-handed maces and axes and stuff. They have old-school warhammers. There's a real depth to the weaponry in this game and the way that you can approach combat. With the two companions, too, I never found that they were being stupid in a fight, which was nice. It would be very easy to create a support character and take the two big fighter companions with you and hang back and pepper, while at the same time you could very easily play a melee-based character and take two of the support companions in with you, which is just phenomenal. Like, there's a depth to this game that I just wasn't expecting at all, and it is really, truly, beautifully done and really immersive. The scenery screams at you. Everything feels new and fresh. This is an IP that's just completely different from anything out there right now, and it definitely serves anybody who has been missing that core Mass Effect BioWare role-playing game feel. This serves that. It serves that beautifully, and I really was blown away by this game. And again, one of the things I truly loved about it is, it actually kind of succeeds where those old games kind of failed in a way, because some of the choices you can make in it are so beautifully open-end that you don't actually even have to pick between two different factions. I had one mission, not to spoil anything, where there was two persecuted characters by the religious nation. The religious nation asked me to find them and to bring them to justice. Once I heard their story, I decided I wanted to help them, so I did. Then I went back and used my charisma skill to actually lie to the original nation, and I actually gained a reputation point with them, as well as the other nation that I helped the two people defect to. And it's something else too. The support traits like charisma for talking, they feel important right off the bat, and that blew me away, that I could talk my way out of things as a social-based character. You just don't, in role-playing games, it's always like a throwaway point if you put it into that, but in this, it's not. It actually has an impact in the game, and I really appreciated that. Sorry, I'm going a little bit long on this one because I really like this game, but we're going to get to the cons now. We're going to go negative. And a lot of this is a little nitpicky because I really do think this is one of their better games. My first con is there's some bugs, some glitching, some frame rate dropouts. I think at one point my character was wearing a cloak and I could see the cheeks of his butt when he stood still. Stuff like that, little clipping issues. Every once in a while the design on my cape will just kind of vanish and it'll just be brown. But again, they were far and few in between, and they didn't take enough away from the experience to, make me not want to play it. My biggest con of this game so far is that they've announced openly that they're not doing any DLC for it. And they've kind of spun this as a positive by saying, oh, none of our content is locked behind a paywall. It's all right there in the original game. Okay, that's great and all. I mean, I know that you can get away with saying that, but at the same time, not all DLC was stuff that's locked behind a paywall or part of the original game. A lot of it is worked on post the game, and it's for more content. It's for you to continue to play the game. So they've also kind of shied away from the question as to whether there'll be a sequel, and that kind of bums me out. This is such a new, fresh IP, and it's so wonderful. I've only played, I would say probably not even half of the game yet, but I already know that it's not going to satisfy me. I'm going to want more, and it bums me that there's nothing on the horizon for it, and that they're already looking at an even more new IP after this. Like, I feel like this is a great game for a franchise. It needs to get sequels, and especially an IP like this, with the freshness of the take of the game itself. There should be more in this world, and we're not going to get it, and that's a huge bummer to me. The other con, it's not really a con for me, but I want to be fair to all the players out there, and that is the fights. There are quite a few fights in this game, but most of them are far and in between. They come a lot when you're exploring. You end up fighting creatures a lot, which I didn't find as fun as fighting bandits or pirates or, other people. It tends to be a little bit more strategic, but the people fights are earned. You don't get them all the time. There is a steady build to them so that when that fight happens, it's really cinematic. It really feels like all communication is broken down. I've tried everything, and now I have to fight these people. And it really gives a weight to the fights, other than just this constant, slog of battles. There isn't. And I found myself getting pulled in a lot more by the talking, but I think there are people out there who would get a little sick of bouncing back and forth. There are a couple of missions where, the quests are very long. They have long plot lines, and you'll have to go to a place only to go back to the place you came from to then go to another place, which, like I said, it didn't bother me that much because the writing, at least so far, made sense. Okay, I get why this would happen, but I could see a lot of players oh my god, I gotta keep going through this loading screen over and over again. So there was another comments in some of the other reviews that I watched that said that they didn't make the factions feel different enough, and I'm not going to say that was a con because I don't believe that they didn't. I mean, when I went to Thélème, it felt completely different than when I was at Hikmet, which was the Bridge Lion's place, or the Congregation. Not to mention the fact that all of these factions are multicultural just to start. So I didn't feel like that was true at all. So finally, it brings us to whether or not I'm going to stick with it. And I think anybody who's been listening so far closely knows that the answer is emphatically yes. I'm even going to go so far as to say this might be one of my never-evers. And by never-ever, I mean never ever trade in and never ever get rid of. So far, this game is beloved to me. I haven't been able to put it down. I truly can't wait to see where the story goes. It brings me in a way that I am excited just to talk to characters in the game instead of just fight. The fights are good too, so when the fight happens, I'm really jacked for it. And the IP is just so fresh and new. Nobody's doing anything like this out there. So there you go. All right, well, that brings us to the end of this review, thankfully. I am going to go to sleep and get some fluids. Not in that order. But as long as you guys keep watching this, I will keep making them. And I will see you guys next time. Did you enjoy that horrible content? Well,
There's more horrible content all over this channel. You can check out our horrible podcasts, or you can check out our other horrible reviews. Be sure to subscribe and turn notifications on, and then we'll let you know when horrible products are ready for you to view. You can also do so at Facebook, Old Man Gaming, and then we can notify you in 2 different places. Fun! Also, click any of the links around you to witness some of that horrible programming right now. I mean, why do anything else? It's YouTube.